Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome back to another episode of That's Crazy. How you doing, Stella?
I'm good.
You were struggling a little bit last week, weren't ya?
I was really struggling. It feels so nice to kind of be coming back to normal life because I really did think I was at my end there. I was like, am I ever going to get better? You know when you get sick and you're like, oh my God, I took for granted all the times that I was healthy.
All the time. I'm
It's so
this.
mean.
It's like you feel like your world is ending.
Yes.
There's nothing that you're like, I cannot believe I'm in this, but I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and hopefully feel better. But clearly that wasn't the opportunity you had.
Yeah.
Poor thing.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling now?
I'm feeling good now. I feel like 95% better, which is great.
We almost have her.
I was feeling like a 2% for a minute there. I was out for a minute. So yeah, it was stressful being sick and so much happening in my life that everything just got put on hold. But I feel good now. You know, it is sometimes nice when you get sick because it forces you to turn inward and think about all the things that you want to do and get back on track when you're healthy. And so I had, a week or maybe more, just sitting down, kind of figuring out what I want to do when I get better. And so now that I'm here, it feels good to finally be here making the podcast again with you. It was sad that we missed last week. I was really sad.
It's okay. It's okay. We just we want you to be at your full best capacity.
Yes.
So we can chit chat and get this going. Yo, looked like you were reading a lot of books though. I'm you got me thinking I should be reading all the types of books during.
Yes. Oh my God. Omid, you have to read these books. Okay, so my girlfriends had been telling me to read this one book series called A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. I think her last name is pronounced Moss or Mass. I don't know. But it's so good. It's fantasy, which is my favorite genre of everything. Books, TV, movies, everything. And it's romantic, but these books are so fucking good, Omid. Oh my God, there are 5 of them, and I read all 5 in 3 days.
What?
When
you're a book girl. You used to. I feel like growing up, you were really into books.
See, I always have been kind of into books, but I don't know. I go in these weird waves where I'll be really immersed in reading because I like the way that it makes me feel. I feel like I'm doing something that's kind of productive, but also something that's for myself.
Yeah.
And then I also have these times where I'll pick up a book and I'll be like, this is awesome. This is great. And then I put it down and I don't read it ever again. You know,
it's gone in the
it's
abyss.
just gone. The last time I tried to read a book, it was Midnight Sun, which was the Edward Cullen POV.
Oh my.
The Twilight Edward Cullen POV. And I was reading it and I was like, oh, this is sexy. This is great. And then I think I got 20 chapters into it. I fucking set that shit down and it's been collecting dust ever since. So being in this new world of loving books has been so nice. And so I finished that series. It's not fully done. There's only 5 books out. And then I started a different series by the same author called A Throne of Glass. That's the series. And I'm about to finish that book. I'm probably going to finish it tonight. And I'm really sad on me. I'm so sad.
So you're just in this world. I love it.
It's the only thing that kept me sane when I was sick because I couldn't do anything else. There were days where my headache was way too fucking bad and my fever was way too bad that I couldn't read. But yeah, when I was sick and even a few days before, anytime I had any time, I was literally just reading. And then I had this fucking experience. Oh my God, it was insane. It was right before I found out that I was actually getting sick. I thought that I had finished the series of the Court of Thorns and Roses series, and I started feeling really fucking sad. And I was like, oh my God, is this normal? I felt like I was going through a breakup because I was missing these characters so much. And I found out that there's this term called a book hangover.
What?
Have you ever heard this?
No.
So basically it's when you think about it, if you're reading a book, you're so immersed in
your
that
whole body's
world.
in the characters.
And it's all in your mind. Granted, the author paints you a picture, but you're the one that's kind of coming up with what it looks like. And so you become so attached and you fall in love with these characters. And in that series, oh my God, there is this one character in there, Omid, you would die over him. He is
Is he
He's
hot?
perfect. He's so hot.
Oh,
He's so hot.
Get
But
me reading.
yeah, you got to read it because it's so good. I have the books if you want it. But
Oh, please, yeah.
I finished it and I was so sad, and I was like looking it up, and like it's like a thing. You literally start like fucking going through withdrawals, and you feel like you're going through like a hangover after, or like a breakup after finishing these books. Like I was crying for like
my
3 days straight.
gosh.
It was bad. It was a
mean-
horrible experience.
So it's like making your sickness worse. You're like this. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm like, did I get myself
Damn.
sick?
I mean, literally
was
the
bad.
last book that I read was probably 50 Shades of Grey, and that
Those are
made me
good.
feel all types of ways after. So I get it. I feel it. I feel like I can only imagine if you're like going through it with the characters,
It's
you're
so
going
hard.
through it too.
Oh my God, I was dying. I was fucking dying. The thing that hurt me the most was that like fantasy and magic isn't real and that these people aren't real. And I do love like a little bit of like some sexy erotica in my books. I loved the 50 Shades of Grey books because
Oh.
they had like all those
It
amazing
was
spicy
just so
scenes.
vivid. It was
Yeah,
vivid.
so vivid. I was like, I love all this smutty fucking language in this shit. And these books, like, they were so good. I really want you to read it.
Well, I've just been, you're almost out of the wood. I've been on a bender again.
Yeah.
We love my bender weekends. We got stranded on a boat in San Diego literally last week. And
Yeah,
it
we
was,
never told that story, did we?
when I tell you, we took a pontoon boat, like one of those pontoon boats that like should just be in the lagoon for like 5 minutes. Like that pontoon boat was, we're like, why don't we just take this pontoon boat for like a little joyride? We literally dropped one of our friends off because we knew if we went any further, we had no plans of going into the water at all that day. But we were eating brunch and we were like, oh, cool, there's a pontoon right next to us. Let's just do it. Let's go. My friend Joey likes to like push the boundaries a little bit.
Yes.
We literally end up in the fucking middle of the ocean and we run out of gas.
I cannot believe that happened to you.
So it was really bad. It was like really bad. But like when I get in crazy situations like that, I just laugh. I'm just like, what is even happening?
Yeah, it just becomes funny.
Yeah.
Omid has a vlog of this on his YouTube channel.
Yes,
if you guys
you
want to
gotta
watch
look
it.
at it.
I was dying when I watched that vlog. It's so fucking funny. Like, yeah, it's true. I feel like whenever we're with like our friend group,
Yep,
we always
yep.
take things just like a little too far because we don't know how to just be like normal, civilized human beings.
No. Like I will sacrifice like to make it more complicated for me to like get to where I need to be,
I was looking through some of the comments and like DMs from our episodes. And someone was like, take a shot whenever Stella says like, and whenever Omid says, what was your thing?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Or something like that.
Let's actually talk about this real quick.
Yeah.
Because in life, it's really, and I'm actually trying to get better at this because of the comments.
Yeah.
They
call us out.
They call us out, and please, like, call us out. We want to be involved in our
Absolutely.
conversations. It is hard in just general life not to use filler words. I remember you went to a seminar. You did an acting class.
Yes.
You're like, they said you can't use the word like, and like they would
Yes.
like punish you for something, right?
They punish you.
I think I need to get on that because it's so easy to use filler words.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, I did go to this acting class. This was years ago, and it stuck with me. Well, clearly not enough because I still say it. But yeah, like there it is. When you start thinking about it too, you start saying it even more. He would, the coach, his name is Howard Fine. He's amazing and I love him. But he really hated the word like because he just thought that it made you sound kind of like not as intelligent
Yeah.
and, like decisive about what you're trying to say. So he would always say, if you're looking for a filler word, you can say it's akin to or it's similar to. And it's funny to me because there was like a moment in time where I was using those words instead of the word like, but it's hard because the stereotype of a valley girl is to say the word like and to like have the inflection of going up. And that's exactly how I talk, Yeah. And so it is funny because I see those messages and I think to myself, fuck, that's probably so annoying. And then I listen back to the podcast and I think, oh shit, yeah, I say that shit a lot. It's honestly, if you try to drink every time I say the word like in all of our other podcast episodes, you would be hospitalized.
You'd be blacked out 12 times. Like,
One of the things like that I loved in the self-help book that I read, which was called The Four Agreements, was one of the agreements was to be impeccable with your word. And so that's, breaching the conversation of, being as true to your word as possible, like being very open and honest about what you want, very decisive. But also, I think the aspect of saying exactly what you mean kind of falls into that category. And sometimes, when you are explaining something, it is easy to use the filler words like. But it does. I don't like sounding unintelligent, and I don't want to just be annoying to listen to, so I am going to try to work on it.
Something that, I thought we would talk about, something that's been kind of in my head. People are starting to get out more these days. Things are lessening, mask mandates. People are going out and friends are hanging out. Events are happening. You might not get invited to some. Your friends might not tell you about some. And the kind of social aspect that we used to have is coming back. And a part of that is FOMO, which is something that I am like the king of feeling FOMO.
King of FOMO.
And it's king of FOMO. I'm the king of FOMO. And it's something that I have really tried to decode why I feel FOMO. And I think it's possibly because growing up, I can say this over and over again, I didn't necessarily have close-knit friends. And the second that I found them, I wanted to just always be with them and make sure that relationship is intact. I thought it would be fun if we would just talk about how maybe you deal with FOMO, how I've been reading and listening to a lot of self-help about specifically FOMO, because that's something that I've recently dealing with. So yeah, let's get into FOMO today.
Totally. Well, have you felt FOMO recently?
I think I'm fearing the thought of, there's a lot of things that are happening in my life, and I feel like there's going to be some opportunities where I'm going to be missing out on certain things, certain events, certain friend events. And I think I've just been dealing with the thought of me missing out on a couple events in the future that are, just in general life. And, the one thing that I have been listening to with my self-help is, in life, you kind of picture yourself as like a tree. And you got to just be in the moment and plant yourself in wherever you are.
I like that.
Because it's so easy to be thinking about everything ahead. And, if I'm not being invited to these events, the relationship's going to get stronger, or, things of that sort. Their bond is going to be a lot. Those events will always happen. And I think my whole thing that I've been trying to remind myself is just be in the present, because you really can't predict the future.
Absolutely.
And, when you're always thinking about if you're in a situation where your friends are all hanging out and you're not there, take advantage of the moment that you're in right now, and ground yourself in where you are, because you could be missing out on the beauties and the connections and the memories that you're having in the moment.
Absolutely. No, for sure. I mean, it is one of those things that it's like grounding yourself and being present is super important. I think it's easy to sometimes be like, the grass is always greener on the other side, right? So it's like, you could be hanging out with friends, and then your other group of friends are doing something else, and then it's like, oh, fuck, I'm missing out on that. But the thing is like, I really do believe that like everything happens for a reason, and you get placed in certain places in your life because that's where you're supposed to go. For me personally, I don't really get FOMO. If anything, I get like phobia, fear of being included, because then I hate having to say no. I do value and cherish the times that I get to hang out with like friends and be invited to things. I think it's really flattering, but a lot of the times as well, like I'm really bad with time management. So it's really hard for me to like set times aside for like friends and set time aside for myself and work. So when I do get invited to things, and especially if it's like a weekend situation and I'm getting invited to a lot of things, I get really overwhelmed. And I think that's just probably like anxiety and all the other things. So I don't really get FOMO that often, but I can imagine how it's like really damaging to the idea of yourself, because then you start to think like, oh, well, why wasn't I invited? Like, do they not like me? Am I not like, as close to them as I thought that I was? Those kind of questions start to get like kind of ingrained into your head. And it's funny that I mentioned the 4 agreements earlier, because the other agreement in that book, aside from being impeccable with your word, is to not take anything personally. And so I think that that's something really important when you're thinking about the idea of FOMO, right? It's like, unless people are kind of being a dick and just like outwardly excluding you, then you really can't take it personal. Sometimes there are people that I'll invite to certain things for certain reasons. I have certain friend groups where I know that they can kind of vibe out with other people. Like, you are an amazing example of someone that I could bring anywhere and know that, like, if I need to go talk to someone else, or if I, step away or whatever, or if there's a bunch of people, you can like really hold your own and make conversation and just kind of like vibe out in a social setting like that, because you're pretty extroverted. Whereas like I maybe wouldn't bring a lot of my introverted friends to certain things, because I don't want to put them in like a situation where they feel uncomfortable, especially if it's for work and I have to like, go off and do my own thing for a little bit. So in those moments, like, it really isn't personal. I'm trying to do my best to make sure that I'm, providing like a good time for whoever I'm bringing. But I can't imagine being on the other side of like, well, she just went to this thing and she brought this person, why didn't I get invited? Those questions I feel like can get a little like inward and start to make a problem where there doesn't need to be. I think it's so easy, especially, in our age range and in, the situations that we live in, being in LA, having a lot of different friend groups, to make things like so much more of a bigger deal, and like they become so existential, right? It's like, what am I doing here? Yeah. Who are my real friends? Does anyone even care about me? Those things start to, it's so easy.
It's so
and it's easy to do that anywhere. Like, it's, those things are super common in just like the coming of age of, being an adult and knowing what works for you, what doesn't. But yeah, that book has like truly changed my life, and I reference to it even this many years like later, not having read it. But it is funny because, there have been moments like, I think I personally deal with FOMO when it comes to relationships more than it does like friends. Because usually like with friends, I hold my friends to like a very high standard, but I also try to think that like I know that they have like the best, like they're looking out for the best for me, right? But sometimes when you have emotional baggage of having dated really, really toxic people, they, you start to be like, do you even care about me? And there have been plenty of times in my relationship now and relationships like in the past where, they'll like go do something and they won't invite me. And I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. It is hard because when you put like, your self-worth and your value and your happiness on other people, you're constantly going to get let down. You're constantly going to get disappointed, because I've had situations where, I've felt like I've put my friends in a certain light, or my friends have put me in a certain light, and you're just constantly, going to be meeting failure at that point if you have such a high expectation for someone to bring you happiness and make you feel loved and make you feel like you're, worth everything. Like, yeah, it is nice to have those conversations and those relationships where you do feel lifted up. I think that's an important thing. I always try to make sure that my friends know that I think the best of them, and I think that they're fucking amazing and that they deserve the world. But at the same time, like, someone can tell you like, hey, I think you're really beautiful, and I think you're fucking awesome, and you're so interesting and so intelligent. And if you don't believe those things about yourself, you'll just shrug it off and say, oh, well, you don't really know me, I guess. So,
but thank you,
you know? And so I feel like there really is like a line of being able to like, expect that sort of like love and that sort of reassurance from friends, but dependency is something that I've struggled with a lot. It's honestly why a lot of my relationships have ended in the past, is because I put so much of my happiness on them. And so, in the situations where for me FOMO was kind of manifesting, they were wanting to, go take a trip with their friends, and even if it wasn't like a guy trip, even if it was just like their friend group from whatever and I wasn't invited, I would always be like so sad, and granted, this is coming back to when I was like maybe 17, 18. A lot has changed. I've been able to, through therapy and just through like self-reflection, work on those things. But it was really difficult for me because whenever, those things would happen, I would be so sad. It's one of those things that looking back at it, I wish I could just like shake myself and say like, this is not because of you, just because they want to go hang out with their other friends doesn't mean that they don't want you, they don't like you. It's just, that's the vibe for them, I guess. And it is kind of like a weird thing because I've always been the type of person to like spend all my time with someone, I like when I have like a best friend, like, I mean, there have been so many moments where you and I do everything together.
It's
and
like,
then, we're like attached at the hip.
Oh, yeah.
And it's beautiful and I love that. But at the same time, it's like, it is important to have like, I guess, boundaries in friendships and like make sure that, you're not putting all of like your expectation on someone else to make you happy.
It's a lot to unpack. It's a day by day thing for me. It's something that I still need to remind myself that like they're not necessarily mad at me, and it's just probably just not the vibe for them if they decided not to invite me. It's nothing personal. Yeah,
and I think honestly, it's always great to just be as like communicative as possible with your friends. There have been times where, I wasn't invited to a friend's birthday or something, and I reached out to that person, and I found out from reaching out in that message that they were very angry with me.
Oh my goodness.
There was like a situation with like a friend of mine, and this was also very many years ago, but we had gotten in a fight and we kind of patched things up, but at that point I feel like maybe there was a lot of things left unsaid. And so they had a birthday and I didn't get invited. You got invited, Omid.
You got invited. Exactly which birthday.
And I didn't. And so I just reached out. I texted them and I said, hey, I saw that you had something for your birthday today. I'm kind of confused as to why I wasn't invited. I would have loved to have been there to celebrate you. And I got paragraphs of, the fact just that I read
the motive behind it.
Yeah, I did not read the room. Clearly, there was a lot more left unsaid than I had anticipated. And, then I think when you have those conversations, it allows you to sit back and think, okay, well, clearly there's a lot more here that we need to unpack. But if you don't say anything, then, then you're missing an opportunity. I feel like I cannot stress enough the importance of having conversations and being open and honest. And sure, it kind of can sometimes sound a little embarrassing to be like, hey,
why wasn't I invited to this? I see all my friends are there.
Exactly.
But so I didn't realize that you did. That's dope that you were just like, I'm just gonna ask, because if clearly all my friends are there, like, what's going on?
Well, when I saw you there, Omid, I thought to myself, okay, there's something really wrong.
There's something wrong.
Because not that you shouldn't have been invited, but you guys weren't that close, and so I just thought to myself, if Omid's there and I'm not, what the fuck did I do?
Were you mad at me that I was there?
No, not at all.
No, I'm just curious. Like, if you were invited to something that you introduced me to that person. Mm-hmm. Okay, I was there, you weren't there. Is that something to be upset over? Because I would probably be kind of upset. That's the difference between be like, what the fuck? I literally introduced him to this person, and
no, I don't.
Are you not that type? Because I've introduced many people to each other, and
so you get upset? But okay, I feel like we need to unpack that, because I think I think we gotta unpack that.
We gotta unpack that.
Yeah. So okay. So in this situation, say where you and I, you introduce me to your friend. What's a very generic name?
Jessica.
Okay.
Jessica.
You introduce me to said Jessica, right? And Jessica ends up doing a fucking dinner, right? And she invites me. She doesn't invite you. I go. Would you be upset with me going?
So, oh my, I'd be like, what do you, like, why wasn't I invited?
So you would get upset at me, or would you get upset at Jessica?
I would kind of get upset at you. Just be like, I wouldn't. Let's be real here.
It's good for me to know, because if I ever get invited to Jessica's dinner, I'm gonna say, "Can I bring my plus one?"
Yes, because I would only expect for me to be your plus one if I was like the one that introduced you and our relationships. I was like, why wasn't I invited? For sure, I would be. And for you, hypothetically, I would be like, I would want my friend Omid, who, formed this relationship with you, to be there too.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that I can kind of see that. For sure. I definitely can see it. I think my brain doesn't really work the same way. I've introduced a lot of my friends to each other. There have been situations where I've brought a lot of people into friend groups, and then I get exiled from the friend group, and then they all stay in the same friend group. And I'm like, well, I guess fuck me, right? But at the same time, I think it's hard because, say in the situation where we were talking about the real life thing that happened, where you went to my friend's birthday thing, I don't think that you and I talked about it. And obviously you didn't go with any ill intent of being like, oh, like, we're not going to invite Stella. So I think that's like the other side of the coin to it, where sometimes it's just easy to like, it slip your mind and not think like, oh, well, I'm going to go to this person.
This person might feel this way because I went.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think that we should all strive to be as emotionally aware of like the choices that we make and how they will make other people feel. But no, I don't really get upset at, I would never get upset at you for that. Unless you were maybe going to something, I don't know. I think it's not so black and white where I can think like in a very broad term. But at the same time, I think that a lot of my confusion would just be led towards the host.
Why wasn't I invited?
Yeah.
Yes.
And
which in your case, you reached out. So I'll just do the same thing too if I'm in that situation.
I think when you open the conversation of, those things with, you didn't invite me and it made me feel this way. It's kind of easier that way, because sometimes when you come in and you're like, hey, you had a birthday thing and I wasn't invited, like, what the fuck is up? Obviously, like, that's kind of setting yourself up for failure. But I think when you lead the conversation of like, hey, I saw that you had a birthday thing and I was a little confused as to why I was not invited. It kind of hurt my feelings. Could we talk about this? Then, I think it opens up the space to have like a healthy relationship and a healthy conversation. I think a lot of it always just comes down to miscommunication, honestly.
So speaking of communication, I have friendships where I know that they're not the best communicators. And, I was looking at some horoscope traits of one of my friendships that I have. And it's like, the communication isn't necessarily going to always be there from one side of the party. So you have to be the person that reaches that and gets that to them. Because for this relationship that I'm talking about, if neither of us text, or if I don't text, there's going to be literally no communication. So it's usually I'm the one that's, putting forth that communication. Have you ever dealt with a friendship that you've had to kind of put in that extra work, or you feel like they've been the party to kind of balance out the friendship?
Yeah. I think usually I'm kind of the person that is lacking in reaching out. It's a conversation that I have with a lot of my friends, and I've had certain situations where I had like to tell my friends, you know, I would appreciate it if you kind of checked in on me a little bit more, if you kind of like called me every now and then, just so I know you care, you know.
Yes.
Because I feel like we all want to feel a little bit wanted and a little bit loved, and nothing makes us happier when our friends just call us and, you know, they want to just see how we're doing. I think that that's a really nice feeling. And so it is hard when you do have those friendships where maybe one person has to put in a little bit more work. And I kind of, you know, in certain situations like that, I've been the person that has reached out and said, you know, hey, I feel like maybe we could work on this relationship a little bit more, and maybe we could spend more time together and stuff like that, and not seen anything from it. And then it's, you know, that's kind of unfortunate because you kind of get your answer. But it's so hard because everyone just communicates in such different ways. You know, and so maybe
some people don't even communicate. But if you know that about them, I think you just have to take it upon yourself to be that energy. Because if they just are genuinely like that with everyone, then if you already know that, then just put in the work. I guess not even put in the work, but just be that for that friendship. Because I'm sure that they'll give you other things in the friendship that you need.
Absolutely.
So as far as communication, I think for me, what I've been doing with this specific relationship is just putting in that communication and putting in that energy into it, because I know that that's just not the person sometimes. That's just not the friend.
Yeah. And it is hard when you have these expectations of what you want your friends to look like, you know, in the sense of, I want my friends to reach out to me, you know, however much, and I want them to call me, or whatever your expectations of how your friendships look like, you know, it does get a little bit difficult when you are dealing with certain individuals that just don't meet that criteria. And it doesn't mean that you guys can't be super close, and can't coexist and thrive. But, you know, it is the conversation of just, realizing what someone's willing to give, and, you know, not even just willing, but able. And, you know, just not taking, like I said earlier, not taking it personally. But it is hard, you know. I feel like I've been on the receiving end of those conversations a lot, where, you know, it makes me feel really bad when someone reaches out and they say, you know, I feel like you're not putting in enough work in this friendship. I feel like you're not doing this and that. Because I don't think anybody ever wants to, you know, make people feel like they're, you know, not loved and not being cared for properly. And so that's the thing that's so hard. I think for me personally, it's so easy for me to get caught up in my own shit that sometimes, and it's not justifiable at all, but sometimes my friendships do suffer, as does my relationship with myself, though. You know, if one aspect is suffering, usually a bunch of other aspects in my life are suffering, you know. And like I said earlier as well, like my time management is so bad. So picking up the phone and reaching out to my friends sometimes is like very difficult. But I think that it's just so important to, you know, come to those people and have those conversations, even if it is awkward. Even, you know, the conversation of, hey, why wasn't I invited? You know, these are very telling things. And I think once you get out of your own way and you start just like being as honest as possible, it sometimes, like, you know, it can be uncomfortable, it can be awkward, but I think for the long haul, it does more good than it does harm.
Harm is more good than harm.
I feel like there are sayings that people say that
and we just don't get it. We just don't nail it. It might be a generational thing where when I was growing up, you know, you hear people say certain sayings like, yes.
I can't even think of one off the top of my head, but like there are certain sayings, and then I try to mimic them, and it just ends up being so bad. We're just
gonna create our own sayings. Live, laugh, love.
Live, laugh, love. But yeah, so in terms of you personally, has anyone ever reached out to you and been like, hey, you know, you haven't invited me to this and that?
That, but I've actually been on the other end of it, and it's the fact that they felt like I haven't been putting any effort in reaching out and checking in. That's usually because there's an underlying issue within my own head as to why I haven't really reached out to them. But there are some times where I just don't. I feel like I've always been that person to communicate and to get people together, and I just want to be not that person sometimes. So it's like I'll be stubborn, and I just will not reach out either. Because I just am like, if you don't want to do that, I don't really feel like doing it really either right now. So I usually end up being the person that does text. But yeah, I've been in that where people have called me out and be like, you haven't necessarily reached out to me in a long time. And I feel like you've been talking to everyone else besides me. And in that moment, that's when I will be honest with them if there is an underlying thing. So I think just calling your friends out is kind of good. You have to call your friends out.
Absolutely. I would hope my friends call me out.
Yeah.
I would hope that everyone calls me out. I think as long as if it comes from a place of love and, genuine care, then you can only take that and be like, okay, cool. This is your truth. I guess maybe I need to self-reflect and decide if that's my truth too, or if I could, do a little bit of fixing up here and a little fixing up there. Have you ever gotten like a blowout fight with someone over like FOMO?
No.
Like, have you ever?
I've definitely. Oh my goodness. I mean, friendships have been ruined because
of FOMO.
Yeah. I am so, when I have really bad FOMO, which just prefacing this, I am working on it and it's getting better.
It's a part of the process.
I have been I get so emo sometimes. Like, and like, if I know that some of my friends are hanging out, I will delete Instagram just to not see what's happening.
No,
that's just what goes through my head, and I'm sure someone can relate too. But
absolutely.
That's just my thought process. But now my goal is to just plant myself, because whatever, you're gonna wake up tomorrow and it's a new day and whatever. Like, it's just what are you even worried? What am I even worried about if someone's off doing something else while I'm not there? So yeah, I've definitely gotten in a lot of fights where I've like posted some like petty shit on like my stories of like a depressing song, like I'm emo and something like that. But it's just like, why am I even emo? When my friends are just getting dinner with each other,
Well, I mean, the thing is I try not to like beat myself up for the way that I'm feeling.
That's true.
So, I think if you're
nice
feeling,
to
exactly. So if you're feeling, my friends are all at dinner and I didn't get invited, like, I think it's better to, sit with that and think, okay, this is how I'm feeling. What am I going to do with these feelings, and allow yourself to kind of like go through the motions. So I don't think that it's wrong to, get a little emo. I think not letting it affect you for longer than it needs to is probably the best bet. But like, I think it's super important to feel all the emotions, because if you just bottle it up or like push it down, then you're gonna fucking explode, Omid,
And no, I'm gonna explode. But it's good, because you're right. You have to let out those emotions to be able to decode why you're feeling those things, and then just be like, all right, I already felt that last time. I woke up, everything was fine. Still friends with those people to this day. Totally. So you just have to go through those emotions
for sure
to be able to then realize, all right, I already went through that. It's not a big deal,
Yeah, for sure.
So so my goal in this next chapter of my life of dealing with FOMO is to really plant myself in everywhere that I am.
Yeah.
Because if you're not anywhere else besides where you are, why are you worrying about it?
So true. It's so true.
I'm here right now. I'm nowhere else in the world. Mm-hmm. So just enjoy that moment and just enjoy where you are and just take it in. So that's just my way of dealing with FOMO from now on.
I love that. FOMO, it's a real thing. I think everyone deals with it.
Everyone can deal with it, and everyone goes through it. You're a tree, and we love you.
We love you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of That's Crazy. Make sure to follow us on all socials, That's Crazy Chats, and DM us. How are you feeling?
Yes.
What do you want us to talk about? We're here for you, and we're getting some guests involved in this ish very, very soon. So
People are
just
getting
wait
involved.
for that. People are getting involved in the conversation. So
Yeah.
just let us know what you want us to talk about.
Yeah.
But-
And thanks for calling me out on the fact that I say the word like a lot. I'm trying to get better.
Because we're going to be better communicators from now on.
Yeah, exactly. That's all we can hope to be, honestly.
Yes. Amen to that. Amen to that. Love you guys. Enjoy
Love
your
you.
day. And
Mwah.
we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.